When legendary fantasy writer Neil Gaiman tried his hand at science fiction, the result was ghost story meets space opera. Science fiction with a twist of magic. Let me tell you the story of Babylon 5's Day of the Dead. How it came about, why it worked, and the cool stuff that didn't make the final cut.
The place, Babylon 5.
Babylon 5's creator, J. Michael Straczynski, or JMS, wrote 92 of Babylon 5's 110 episodes. And from mid-season 2 onwards, it was entirely his teleplays, with the exception of one single episode.
Perhaps someone of my experience would be a valuable addition to your crew.
JMS had been trying to get Gaiman on board for a long time. Virtually every year, he'd try and make it happen. But Gaiman was too tied up with his TV show Neverwhere to make it come together. It was only in Babylon 5's final season, after Neverwhere got cancelled, that he was finally free to pen a script. JMS is a notorious control freak, especially when it comes to Babylon 5. Actors were rarely allowed to alter even one word of his dialogue. That made it all the more unusual that Gaiman got complete free rein to do whatever he wanted. So, what happens when you get a fantasy guy to write a sci-fi script? You get a ghost story that owes a lot to Charles Dickens. In A Christmas Carol, crusty old miser Ebenezer Scrooge is visited by ghosts on Christmas Eve. His perspective on life is forever changed after receiving glimpses of the past, present, and future. So too is it for the crew of Babylon 5. The Brakiri are holding a festival heavily inspired by Mexico's Day of the Dead. Characters trapped on a particular part of the station are visited by ghosts of the past. In some cases, their lessons are clear. Others are left more up to us to interpret. As you can tell, this is the stuff of pure fantasy. It's magic. There's no science behind this, which is a problem for some viewers. But I think there's room in sci-fi for a bit of this kind of stuff. Take Babylon 5's telepaths. They're essentially wizards. There's no science there either. And characters regularly see visions and prophecies about the future that end up coming true. This is also just magic. Interestingly, Gaiman initially had a piece of dialogue that tried to explain things. He took it out, but one of the few notes JMS gave him was to put it back in.
Well, the high IQ boys back home think it might have been a device smuggled onto the station that somehow activates the parts of the brain responsible for memory. And Zach is checking the air ducts to see if it was a gas used to create a similar effect.
So if you don't like magic in your Babylon 5, there's your out. Pretend it was one of those things. But does the existence of ghosts break the universe? Confirmation of life after death and all that. The episode deftly dances around this as well.
But at least you have shown me there is truly life beyond death.
Not necessarily, but you'll find that out soon enough.
Some of the characters who come back say they're ghosts, but maybe they're just being sarcastic. Others outright say they aren't ghosts.
Are you a ghost?
I don't think so. I don't believe in ghosts.
They deny knowing anything about life after death, but they're quite sure that they are in fact dead. This is all very fitting for Gaiman, who's probably best known for his Sandman series. In the end, what the characters experience feels like a dream, something only half understood, something they might question their own memories of. So, who gets haunted?
I came for wisdom.
Lanier is the only one who knows what he's getting into. He's left his job as Delen's assistant to become a ranger, but his motives are far from pure. Delen is married to Sheridan, and Lanier is overwhelmed by jealousy. He left in order to get away from them, but also to prove he can be a warrior, a man of action, just like Sheridan is. He's clearly conflicted and looking for answers. What he gets is Mr. Morden, clearly not what Lanier was expecting. Morden was an agent of the Shadows, whose head is now in a pike somewhere on Centauri Prime. Morden's whole thing was giving people what they want, but in a way that leads them on the path to corruption. But here, he's giving Lanier harsh truths he doesn't want to hear.
Delen does not love you as you love her, and she never will.
I know that.
No, you don't. Not in your heart. That's the problem, you see.
Lanier rejects Morden's words, but is left haunted by his prophecy of the future, that one day he will betray the Rangers.
Hello, Londo.
Londo is reunited with Adira, his one true love who was killed by his political enemies back in Season 3. This one is much more straightforward. Londo is on the verge of becoming Centauri Emperor. He's been through massive ordeals in the past few years, and more challenges lie ahead. Being with Adira again is a reminder that happiness is possible. It's a moment of respite, before the universe really starts to unload on him again.
You know, the reports of my death, they weren't even exaggerated a little bit.
Garibaldi is visited by Dodger. This is a deep cut to the Season 2 episode Gropos. Dodger was a Marine who was briefly stationed on Babylon 5. She tried to hook up with Garibaldi, but as usual, he was a bit of an emotional mess. Giant picture of Daffy Duck over a guy's bed is always a bit of a red flag. Also, he was hung up on his ex Lise back on Mars, and wasn't up for a one-night stand. Dodger is later killed in action, leaving Garibaldi haunted by what might have been. And this is sort of what he gets to experience here. Again, they don't hook up. Garibaldi is now back together with Lise, but he gets a glimpse of the road not traveled, and a chance to close the book on a friendship cut short. Then there's Lockley. She only showed up on the show a few episodes ago. We barely know anything about her except that she's a hard-ass career military lady. So here it's less about what Lockley learns, it's what we learn about Lockley. We meet her childhood friend Zoe and learn about their reckless youth together.
Hey, you got any stuff around here? We could have a little party.
I stopped when you died.
You don't party. Jeez, Lizzie. What'd you grow up to be?
Zoe ultimately died of an overdose. Lockley's dad staged an intervention, and she cleaned up her life. We learn how much Zoe's death hangs over her.
Passcode requested.
Captain Elizabeth Lockley, passcode 2 words. Zoe's dead.
And in the end, she gets some measure of closure over what happened.
I did do it on purpose. I just couldn't go on. Don't hate me.
I could never hate you.
Now, Gaiman had a ton of ideas that didn't make the final script. In a 1997 interview, he mentioned that he really wanted Vir and the Emperor Cartagia. This would have been a great pairing. Vir killed the Emperor in Season 4, and they occasionally nodded to how the guilt and trauma of this weighs heavily on him.
I didn't do it! I didn't do it!
Unfortunately, JMS nixed this one, as his plans at the time would have placed Vir off the station when the episode took place. But the biggest missed opportunity was Ivanova. Actress Claudia Christian left the show abruptly at the end of Season 4. It's not clear when Gaiman was first playing around with this Day of the Dead idea, but the most obvious pairing would have been Ivanova and Talia Winters. They had a major story arc in the first couple of seasons. Ivanova overcame her antipathy towards telepaths, and the two of them were developing a romantic relationship.
My God, it's her!
That is, until it was revealed that Talia was a Psy-Corps mole the whole time, with a false personality.
Always the romantic. The program is complete. The Talia you knew no longer exists.
She never reappears, but Bester the Psycop implies what became of her.
We learned some interesting things about Miss Winters in the course of her debriefing and dissect.
Allowing Ivanova to confront her betrayal would have made for a powerful segment and wrapped up some major loose ends. The other might have been is G'Kar. He's spooked by the whole idea of the Day of the Dead and camps out on the bridge. It's a decision he later comes to regret.
The people who were within the Brakiri bounds last night, they seem deeper, more at peace. I wonder what I would have seen if I had slept in my own quarters last night.
According to Gaiman, G'Kar would have met his father, who was killed by the Centauri and was featured in visions G'Kar had in past seasons. Day of the Dead is one of the best episodes of Babylon 5's shaky final season. Gaiman nails the characters and the world, but the story is something JMS would never have written. The result is something fresh but familiar, science fiction with a fantasy twist. What do you think? Is this one of the best episodes? Or is it just a bit too much hocus-pocus in your sci-fi? Let me know in the comments. Until next time, I'll be seeing you.